it was something that I never really wanted to do. For me, System of a Down is us four. If one of us four isn't doing System of a Down, I don't really want to do System of a Down. This is Daron Malakian, and this is On the Record with Ultimate Guitar.
All right, thank you so much. You got a new record coming out very soon that we got to talk about. I've given it a listen the last few days. It's awesome. There's a lot to be proud of. Is there a song on there that you're most proud of or most excited for fans to hear?
The one that jumps at the couple that jump at me, the one that really jumps out at me always is the title track, Addicted to the Violence. It's got a flavor and it's got colors and direction that I think I really am a fan of and I really enjoy, and I don't think I've been there before with my writing. Everything I do kind of shares my DNA, whether it's a song like Killing Spree or a song like Shame Game, which are completely different songs. But Addicted to the Violence just has a mood, and it has instrumentation and the synth and the way the song opens up with that synth. It's just a song that I'm really proud of. That people ask me sometimes, like, whether it's System or Scars, you combine all your work together. What are some of the highlight kind of moments you have as a writer? And, certain songs come into mind. And I could definitely see somebody asking me that 5 years or 10 years from now, and I'll probably tell you Addicted to the Violence is one of those songs.
Yeah, so the music on there's amazing, and then the production is great as well. And you were the producer on this record.
I've only worked with one producer my whole life. That's Rick Rubin, and I co-produced those records with him, with System. But with Scars, I always self-produced. So yeah, I've never worked with anybody else but Rick.
He's kind of the fifth member of System, as I've heard in the past.
He's just a really, you know, his style. Some people like it. Some people work with him feel differently. It worked with us, and it worked with me as well, with as a songwriter and as a producer. It fit. I don't really need anybody to like hold my hand through the whole fucking process. Like I'm looking for this opinion or this taste of someone that I respect, and I respect his opinion. I respect his taste, and that's what he brings to the table. And he said it himself. He's like, I'm not a technical guy. I'm not a musician, but I bring my taste, and if that's something that you respect, then I'll give you my opinions, and you can take it or leave it. And that's kind of how it was working with Rick. He made so many of those songs with just one little opinion sometimes, or one little nudge, and made a song better than it was. And a song is like 2.5 minutes, so you make like a tiny change in that song, you're making a big change in a 2.5 minute song. You're hey, repeat that chorus twice instead of once, or even questioning, like, is it good enough? Is it good enough? And it makes you think, okay, is it good enough? And then you go in there and then you make it good enough, and you make it maybe better, or you do something, or you answer that question with, yeah, it is good enough. But at least the question is in the air, and you're working on it, and you tried something and you loved it, or you tried something you didn't love it, but it just, and that's kind of what he does at the end of the day. Lost in Hollywood is a System song that I wrote on the Mesmerize album, and I had written the first part of the song, but I hadn't written the middle part of the song, which is now like the most epic part of the song. But when I brought in the first part of the song, he just told me it's not finished. I thought it was finished, but he's like, I don't think it's finished. And I came home that night and I wrote the middle part of the song where, I was standing on the wall feeling and And that, I was like, wow, this song just became something really fucking great. And I probably wouldn't have gone there if he just didn't say, well, I don't think it's finished. He didn't turn a knob. He didn't give any technical advice. He didn't even tell me what direction to go to finish it. He just left it to me. And if you, I don't know, man, I don't need him to paint my painting, but like, he definitely pushed me into a direction that made my painting better.
Yeah, obviously, his talents speak for themselves, and it's really cool that he can lead you with a question like that. That's really cool. So, what did you use for gear on this record? Was your rig similar to the system rig that you usually use? Were you using the Icemans or some of the Gibsons that maybe you've used on previous records?
Since Mesmerize and Hypnotize albums, and on every Scars record, I've used 1962 SG that I have, LP SG standard, and it's like I think it's a 1968 335 that I have, and I layer those to make my heavy tone, and that's what I've done since Mesmerize and Hypnotize. Um, so I've stuck with that. I used the same Marshall that I had on the Mesmerize Hypnotize records and all the Scars records, but I also used Friedman's on this, and I layered Marshall and Friedman together. Friedman actually modded that Marshall, so in a way, you could say they're all Friedman's in some way.
Do you know what the mod is? Is it a gain stacking kind of a thing?
It's a gain mod just to make it more, chuggy and heavy. But his amps kind of have that, but with more. What is it? Is it the BE?
The brown eye?
It's the black one with the brown. So his kind of have that Marshall tone that I like out of the modded Marshall, but there's just a little more options than on that on his amps than there are on the Marshalls. The Marshall's just kind of a one-trick pony.
And then live, are you still using the Ibanez Icemans? I know you've kind of been with Ibanez on and off throughout your career. What initially drew you to those Ibanezes, and then why have you stuck with them for so long?
Well, live I use the Iceman, which has been there forever, and I also use SGs, Gibson SGs, and a couple of times I brought up a 355 and Flying V Gibson. So I've been using Gibsons as well live, but the Iceman is always in the mix. The Iceman came in the mix when we first got signed for the first album. They gave us money to go buy equipment, and I went to Guitar Center, and at that time I was using Fenders on stage. So if you ever look at old pictures of me from the first record, you'll see me playing Fender Strats. Humbucker Strats, though. They at that time, the one that I was using was called a Big Apple Strat. I don't know if those still exist or not, but one of mine had humbuckers. So I went to Guitar Center and I saw this Iceman that was sitting there, and I was like, that's a guitar that not too many people use. It was unique. I never thought of using one before that. I mean, I guess I saw Paul Stanley have one through the years, but I never, the only other guitar player I knew was Tom G. Warrior from Celtic Frost. He used one. uh, and I was like, man, that's one that there aren't that many people that use this guitar. And I just bought it, and I took it on tour with me, and I left it on the rack, and I kept using my Fenders. But then one day, one of my techs was like, dude, you should use this thing. And I never really played it that much. I just bought it because I was like, it's cool, And one day on stage, I used it, and I was like, it's shaped weird, but it really sits on your body, really comfortably. It's not an awkward guitar feel when I play on stage. It feels just right, you know. And that's it. I just kept playing that guitar on stage more than the Fenders at that point, and it just became kind of like I was just really comfortable with it on stage, and you know, you could sit down with it, you're still comfortable, and it just shapes the shape of it is just unique. And then I started a relationship with Ibanez, and they started making them for me. And then I remember in the early days, I'd have my dad paint them. So if you saw the early stuff, there was these weird. Well, my dad did all that stuff. Um, Now I just have them in black and gold. That's my thing now. I just like guitars that are just black and gold. I don't know. It's not, you know, there's other people that use black, but I don't know. I love whether it's Gibson or Ibanez. I like, they're like, you want another black and gold one? I'm like, yeah, another black and gold one. So I have like quite a few Iceman that are in black and gold. I have a few SGs and stuff that are in black and gold. Um, but that guitar I'm talking about got stolen, the first one. I've had a lot of guitars stolen. I think I've had about 5 or 6 guitars stolen in my life. And that guitar, we were on tour with Fear Factory and another band back in those days. And we woke up one day and they came and told us someone stole the truck where all the band's equipment was in one truck. So that guitar and those 2 Fenders I'm talking about, I think they burned in a warehouse somewhere. Back in the day when I was a teenager, I had a blue Carvin guitar. It was my second guitar ever. Someone broke into my dad's pickup truck and stole that one. And then when we were like already a big band, we were playing huge amphitheater somewhere in Jersey, I think it was, or Philly or Jersey or somewhere in between there. And I had a white SG that I used to play on stage all the time. And there are pictures of me with this white SG here and there. And my production manager comes to my bus. He's like, listen, man, someone fucking grabbed that guitar and stole it. I go, we have a fucking million security guards now, man. We're actually like, how the fuck did that happen, you know? And there's another one that got stolen. So yeah, 5, and then my first guitar ever wasn't stolen, but one of my cousins sold it to buy himself some pot. When I let them have it, and I was like, because I have a new guitar, so I was like, oh, you could have this one. They were my younger cousins, and they went and they like sold it at the pawn shop. He feels like shit about it now because he didn't know I was gonna end up in. That was my first guitar. So that's like what 5 or 6 guitars that I I used to have.
So I was listening to the new record, and it still sounds so much like you. Even today, where we have a lot of bands that have been inspired by your music, it still sounds so uniquely you. And even going back to the early days of System, you guys were really unique. And I'm wondering, in the early days, did you struggle with labels that maybe didn't know what to do with a band that was so unique?
Yes. Labels, audiences. At the time we were coming up, Limp Bizkit was big, Korn was big. That stuff was just happening. We fit into that world, but also didn't. Like people call us new metal. That's because we kind of came out in that scene, but I don't I feel like we do so many things that are just outside of that box and outside of a lot of other boxes, outside of our own box sometimes, there is no box at the end of the day when it comes to what I'm writing. There is no box. Um, but yeah, we did have people, we were 4 Armenian guys. So that was also not typical or unique. I mean that was unique. It wasn't your, average what bands looked like. We didn't look like what everyone else looked like. And our sound was different. And some people would come up to us and be like, well, you got, because we were huge in LA, man. Like we became the band in LA. Like we packed the houses, every Whiskey, Roxy. We were always spoiled that way. I would say that we never played in front of like three people. Like it was always fucking. We had a lot of friends at first, but that friends it grew into more than friends, and next thing you knew, we were the biggest deal in LA. But still, we weren't getting any offers being signed because people were asking us, well, they get you guys here, and but who's gonna get you in fucking Texas? Who's going to get you in places where they don't know what Armenian is? And then you guys are playing this like wacky shit, and you and your singer, and like Serge and I were both vocal on stage, and I was doing my thing, he was doing his thing, and it was both kind of not what everyone else was kind of doing vocally either. Um, so yeah, we would get that question. We would get, even some people would kind of tell me like, "Well, write some stuff that's kind of more like this." And the thing about us is that we saw the reaction we were getting from whatever those crowds were getting. We're like, we didn't make these people fucking come here. They came here because they thought like, our band was good last time they saw us, so they wanted to come again. And so we're doing something right here. And we're not going to change that because they told us to change it, or we need to fit into whatever, once again, box they want to put us to, or cookie cutter thing that they want to do. And at that time, the labels had power, like there was no Spotify or anything like this. But we stuck to our guns. We stuck to what we did. Rick came along and saw us at the Viper Room. We had a few labels that would like, show up to our shows, but weren't really putting anything on the table. Rick came in, saw us at the Viper Room, thought it was funny. His explanation of it was, I couldn't stop laughing. And that was fine with us because there is a side of us that has humor in our music. There is a side of us that's ridiculous, that's stupid. So then when Rick got interested, those other labels that were kind of dipping their feet, they got interested. Then we had a bidding war. And so we went from like, who's going to get you guys, to like bidding war. This label's offering the most money they've ever offered to anybody. And all of a sudden we got this bidding war. And we decided not to go with Rick at first. We were going to go, Universal had just started the music label at that time. Before that, they were just movies. And they got into music. And there was a subsidiary from off Universal called Cherry Music. And this lady ran it. Her name was Jolene Cherry. And her and her team would wine and dine us and take us to dinner. And so they made us believe like, you guys should come with us. And we have Universal, and they're brand new, and they're excited about you. And we went and did that. And we were like, okay, we were going to be a Universal band. And once we even got up on stage at the Roxy and they announced us as Universal recording artist, System of a Down, we went to New York, and Roadrunner also offered us a really big deal at that time, that it was like the biggest record deal they had ever offered anybody at that point. And Monty, I think his name was, that used to run Roadrunner at that time, was really like there, and he really wanted to sign us. And we pursued all the avenues, and Rick was also there, taking us to dinner, getting to know Rick. But we were going with Universal Cherry Music. And we went to New York. We went to the Universal offices, and they had this whole layout for us. Every employee there was there to greet us and show us, this is your new home. So happy to have you. And we went in there and we saw there was pictures of like, they had no rock act. They were brand new label. They had Erykah Badu, and the closest thing they had to us was the ska band at that time called Real Big Fish. And we went in there and we talked to them, And we left there, we got into the elevator, and we said, these people don't know anything about our kind of music. We're not sure these people are going to be able to know what to do with us. And we got into the elevator. By the time the elevator got back down on the floor, we each one of us was thinking the exact same thing. And we turned to each other and said, we got to call Rick. And we went back to our hotel room and we called Rick. And we're like, Rick, we want to go with you. And there you have it. From then on, and until this day, who knows if we made that left turn instead of the right turn, would I be sitting here talking to you today, still putting out albums as an artist, and living, going on tour with the band, playing in front of these? I don't know. Who knows? Maybe we wouldn't have.
Careers are made out of those little moments, right? So I wanted to give you an opportunity to respond to something that Serge said in his book about he offered to step down from the band. He said that you guys maybe auditioned somebody for the role of singer. Is that true? And who? I don't know if you can say who was maybe considered for that.
It was something that I never really wanted to do. For me, System of a Down is us four. If one of us four isn't doing System of a Down, I don't really want to do System of a Down. Did we think about that? Sure. But did we really pursue it deeply? No. We tried. I don't want to get into names. We tried. And whoever we tried, he sounded good. But it was just I people would think, oh, Daron is the one that would want that. I was the one that was like most against it. I was like, I don't want to look to my left and see other people. System is system, and if that's not going to be system, then I don't know if that's the system I want to be a part of. And but yeah, all that kind of happened because there was a time we were kind of like, well, because when we took our hiatus, we didn't know what was going to happen. Some of us expected that it might only been a couple of years and maybe we would have come back. And look, man, we all get along really well now. But yeah, through the years, there's been frustrations with each other for one reason or other. Some of it's his fault, some of it's my fault, some of it's John's fault, some of it's Shava's fault. I mean, it's not all like, oh, it's just between Daron and Serge, So it's a band, and we have four really different personalities in the band, and but now we get along really well. We've all the thing is, as friends, we've always gotten along. It's band politics, and the band is where our disagreements were. We never really had problems with each other outside of the band. Like, because you got some people that are like, I can't stand to be in the room with that guy. We were never that. We were never that. We always had respect for each other. We always loved each other. We always considered each other brothers. And we were always, and still are, and still feel that way. And we're still proud of what we've achieved with each other as a band. And as for Armenian guys, too, that's also something. So yeah, I'm not interested, or really kind of never was interested. I think Serge might have said something in his book about because the guy couldn't do the growls or something, and that's why we didn't. And that's not true. Me and him and I have never had this conversation of why it didn't happen. But really, the reason why it didn't happen is I kind of was the one that was like, I don't think I want to pursue this. I don't want to do this without him.
Well, you guys together, as a fan looking in, you guys are System of a Down, and thank you guys for being you and being uncompromising throughout all the years and sticking together.
I feel the same way. As looking on the outside of the band, I'm a fan of that. I'm not trying to change that. Never was.
What's next for Scars? I know you got some dates with System coming up this fall, but are you going to tour with Scars or play some shows to support the new record, I would imagine?
Play some shows for sure. I wait and see like what kind of offers come up. Am I comfortable with that? some people ask me, you want to go to South America, you want to go to Europe, you want to tour the States. If something comes up where it feels comfortable for me to do, and I'm not going to be miserable, I'm not a huge fan of touring. I'll just be honest with you, but I am a fan of playing shows. I love being on stage. So we will be playing shows. Where those shows will be exactly, I can't tell you right now, but there will be shows, whether it's festivals or one-offs here and there. Scars will be playing live. I have a live band. We played last year. We opened up for Korn in LA, and then we did the Aftershock Festival. And it was, like I said, those situations for me were like, oh, that seems like a comfortable scenario for me, and it's not like something that I'm going to be gone for like 3-4 months at a time. So playing shows is definitely in the future, but how many, where, and that's kind of the thing about Scars, is where, since it is that way, those shows become really special, especially for the people that really love Scars, and for me, because being with Scars is different for me than being on stage with System, and the vibe of it is different for me. The approach is different for me. With System, we have two of us singing. He sings sometimes, I sing sometimes, we sing together. I On songs I don't sing, I can go off and just fucking lose it on stage. With Scars, I'm kind of on that mic. And one thing I plan on doing with Scars is kind of putting down the guitar and just singing sometimes. Um, I think that will that's something I would enjoy doing. Is doing that, like just being a front man and just putting down the guitar, letting the band play, and just me singing. Um, I think I'll do that in future Scar shows.
Yeah, that would be cool. I'm looking forward to seeing that, of course. I always close out, music is with one last question, if you're okay with that, if you have time. Music's such a personal experience, and you've written so many songs with both projects. Is there a song that is really close to you personally, that means the most to you, just personally?
I couldn't just name one. There's and it's usually not the heavy ones. It's always like those Soldier Side, Lost in Hollywood, um, Babylon off the Scars first Scars record, Insane off. It's more of those mid tempo emotional songs that, because um, I don't know why Addicted to the Violence on this, the title track on this record. It's one of my proudest moments as a songwriter. So some of my proudest moments are on Scars records. Um, I never put out anything that I feel is like, well, I'm putting it on a Scars record, and it's like the System brand is a bigger brand, but to me, that what I put into Scars, or what I put into System back in the day, I always put the shit that's like, that I'm proud of at that moment in my life as a writer. And so some of those songs I mentioned to you are System songs. Some of those songs I mentioned to you are Scar songs. I'm proud of them all, but there's just these moments where um, I went somewhere as a writer that either at that time or at this time that I hadn't gone to before. So Soldier Side, Lost in Hollywood, those are like places that I felt like was like this kind of achievement, that like as a writer, that I just kind of, I went outside of what was probably expected of me. You could even add like maybe Radio Video or something to that mix, because it's just such a bizarre, different kind of song, um, that it just took me to another place that um, was, that place was just really different than the other places I had been to before. So yeah, I couldn't name one song, but I just named a few. And I could see myself, as I move along in my life and as a writer, those are the type of songs I find myself writing more now. Uh, the more mid-tempo, um, not necessarily starting the mosh pit, but like, and I think that uh, that's always been a part of me just as much as the heavy stuff has been, you know. And one thing I bring out, you had Iggy Pop had the Stooges, and that was really rock, punk rock. But somewhere along the way, Iggy Pop made the Idiot album with David Bowie, and that is not very Stooges like, but it's still Iggy Pop. And I would like my work to kind of sh- show different phases of and different sides of me as a writer, not just that one thing, you know. And I try to do that within an album as well.
I was gonna say the new record is very diverse as far as that goes, and shows a lot of different elements. There's some songs that will make you drive faster. I found out today, and there's some that really make you listen a little deeper. You know, there's some mandolin in there. It's a great record, man.
Yeah, I with every record I've made, I've always tried. It's not trying. Like I don't like to use the word try. That's just kind of happens. Like if you listen to the first Scars record, the same I think could be said for that. If you listen to System albums, the same could be said where we had songs like Jet Pilot, but then we had songs like Aerials. Uh, and that it was that way from the first record. We had Spiders on the first record. There was always, yeah, we were heavy, but then there is this moment, and that moment takes you into you listen to this song, and it's not necessarily about driving fast or starting a mosh pit. It's more about it's heavy in emotion, and once again, I feel like as I go, I feel like those are the types of songs that might define the next part of what I do more than the stuff. At least I don't plan on it, but that's where I feel like I might go. And then for all I know, I might write the heaviest record I've ever made later. I don't know. It's very unpredictable for me which way I'm gonna go or not.
Well, we appreciate everything you do. We appreciate you taking those boxes and smashing them, and inspiring us all to get outside the box and think outside the box. So thank you for that throughout your whole career. So you've been very gracious with your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Justin. Likewise, I appreciate you doing this. Thank you.